Let's, okay. Uh, Welcome to our presenters. Uh, and I will introduce them, and they're from Connecticut AARP. And we have Byron Peterson, John Coates, and Harry Hom. By means of introduction, Byron is the AARP Fraud Watch Network lead volunteer for Connecticut. He has been with AARP Connecticut State Office as a volunteer for over 8 years, educating the public on consumer fraud protection and issues affecting the 50-plus population. He served on the AARP Connecticut Executive Council, an advocacy volunteer, as well as he leads the AARP Connecticut Greater Bridgeport Regional Impact Team. And I guess we'll explain a little about that. With him is John Coates from the AARP Fraud Watch Network Volunteer Planning Team, member, planning team member for Connecticut, serving as a master trainer for the team. John also has been an advocacy volunteer for 5+ years and is a producer of AARP Connecticut's monthly cable television program, and also serves in leadership roles for the AARP Connecticut Greater Hartford Regional Impact Team. Harry Hom is an AARP Fraud Watch Network volunteer team member for Connecticut, serving in a number of roles ranging from tech support to scouting scams that are taking place in Connecticut and beyond for our AARP Fraud Watch Network team. He also serves in the driver safety team and other issue area teams for the AARP Connecticut State Office. And with that, I'm turning the meeting over to Byron. It's all yours, Byron.
Well, Joe, thank you very much. And gentlemen and ladies, I appreciate being allowed here to give you some valuable information. We're here today to help you with that information, to help you recognize and avoid fraud. The three of us, as you have been introduced, we've been introduced? I want to say that we're all volunteers. We've been trained in the area of providing education about fraud, but I always stress that we're not experts. We work directly with experts to ensure that we're up to date on our information, and we can also direct you to those experts if you have an issue. So, keeping in mind our time, John will be co-presenting with me this morning, and Harry is handling the PowerPoint presentations. I think, as I see, most of you, if not all of you, are on Zoom. I just ask you to be mute as we go through. We will stop a couple times to address questions, and of course, at the end, we'll have questions as well, be able to respond to. If you're on the phone, I heard you might have a few on the phone. All you have to do is just press *6 to mute and unmute your line, and we invite you to listen and also to join in with questions. Let me move on to describe where we began. Dr. Ethel Percy Andrus, our founder, was a retired high school principal in California, and she had made a discovery when she was looking for a teacher friend that friend was in poor health, unable to afford medical care, and living in a chicken coop. She got angry and started seeking help, and as a result, she was trying to find affordable health insurance for retired teachers. During that search, she realized it was more than just teachers who needed help, that many older individuals needed help. And in 1958, she founded AARP. But keep in mind, that was about a decade before Medicare. But that's how we started looking at the financial security for seniors and empowering them with education on how to improve themselves. This morning's agenda will be, as you see here, we'll talk briefly just to kind of update you on some things that are happening with COVID scams, fraud trends, and then John will take you through the Con Artist Playbook, prevention and resources. Let me get started. You know that anything that affects a lot of people is a perfect target to be used by these scammers. and COVID-19 is no different. And why? Well, let's just look at the fact that, as you all know, we have been concerned. We've faced a lot of unknowns about COVID. We've seen some financial downturns, some job losses. We've seen a scarcity of goods and services. And this fear and concern are exactly what scammers look at trying to, if you will, get us to give up information. What are some of the things that they do? Right now, we're about, hopefully, my fingers are crossed as I say this, about to have another package that will be released to us on relief. It may include stimulus payments. It may provide other sources, but once it's announced, you may start receiving calls indicating that if a stimulus check is going to be released, that they could help you get that quickly. They could help direct it to your bank account. And you may get it as a telephone call. You might get it as a text. You might get it as an email. All of this is an effort to get this money from you illegitimately. I remember when the first stimulus relief payment was proposed by the president in March, we started receiving reports that people had gotten texts and phone calls about help in receiving their check. So what we ask people to do is be on guard. Avoid contact with anyone claiming to be able to help you to receive your payment. And I ask you to get your information directly from the IRS. Uh, don't share your bank account information or social security number to avoid being victimized by these criminals. What are some of the things they'll do there? Well, they can provide you with deceptive advertising that if it comes out, now that we have a vaccine, we're seeing that some are saying, hey, by the way, for a small fee, I can get you up online to get your vaccine early. I heard earlier in your meeting that you are trying to arrange to have it, which is great as a group. Unfortunately, those who are not in a group may get calls saying, hey, we can do this for you. Send us a check for $25 or this or that, or, we'll get you in line first. Um, as you know, there have been claims about testing, and a lot of it has been fraudulent to get people. If we can pay us a certain amount of money, we can get you in early. Um, we basically say be on guard, and to do that, you just follow the guidance of your doctor, the CDC, and other known health officials. So I encourage you to be aware that these COVID scams are started. They're going to continue, and hopefully you'll recognize them and won't be won't be victimized. We'll put it that way. Let me just ask you one quick question. You can kind of raise your hands. And just think about it. Do you think you've been approached with any fraudulent offer? Has anybody been approached by someone with a fraudulent offer? Just kind of raise your hand. That'll save us. Uh, okay, I see several there. Okay, okay. So several of you have been potentially a victim by being approached. All right, next question. Do you know someone who has been a victim of identity theft or fraud? Kind of raise your hand or use your blue hand. All right. Okay. So it's something that many of us are aware of. When I asked this question 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't get as many hands. It's something that we have publicized. It is in the news all the time. People are being victimized. So I encourage us to be careful with that. What are the top scams? People have always said, you know what are the top scams that we need to be aware of? The first one is identity theft scam. And this is where someone will try to get your information and take over your identity, where they might use to get a false credit card or an account in your name, but with their personal information to get funding illegally. Another one's imposter scams. I think since all of us are on the computer, you probably have gotten a call from someone who says they're from Microsoft, and you have an issue. You may find out that your computer is generating a virus, and that's one approach. Or you may have gotten a false imposter from IRS who says, "Hey, by the way, you owe money," and on and on. And you may get calls through the mobile services and telephone, again, trying to get you to get excited to give up information. This is just to give you an idea that it's not just the seniors who are being targeted, but also young people. Everybody's being targeted. We're finding out that younger people reported losing money to fraud more often than older people. The difference is that the older people have been paying more in dollar amount when they have been victimized than the younger people. Identity theft. Now, just to give you some statistics so you're aware of it, how prevalent it is. That's true that almost every 2 seconds, someone's identity is stolen. And we've had 21.4 million people who've had their identity stolen annually. This was as of last year. This came in, and $16 billion is stolen just identity theft. One thing I want to say before I go through here, believe it or not, the group that identity theft is stolen often is children. Why? Because until they're in the teens, they usually don't have any need to access your social security number. So guard your children, your grandchildren, and protect their identity as well. Uh, the common ways that con artists steal your identity, one is what we call phishing. Someone will contact you via email and says there's a problem with your bank account, and you need to verify that account with your social security number or a bank routing number or birth date. The effort here, obviously, is to get information from you that they can use. They are also, they're also called dumpster diving. They will go and steal your mail or your sensitive documents uh, from your trash or your office if you have one on volunteering. And another way to get it is through your social media websites. Many of us unknowingly give out a lot of information through our social media websites, and scammers pick up on this. Also, we may have job opportunities that are not real. Like, we'll get a call and say, I have a temporary job you might find interesting. Um, if you're interested, give us this information about you. And in doing so, you're giving someone your personal information will still use, and they'll sell that information with you unknowingly having provided it to a scammer. Investment fraud. Many of us have invested and continue to invest. This gentleman here is someone who is an investor, and he uh, lost as a stockbroker. He lost over $40,000 in a fraudulent oil and gas investment out of Dallas, Texas. So anybody can be affected. And how he got defrauded is he got an invitation for a free lunch, and it was going to be a seminar about an unbeatable investment opportunity. And he went, and he was victimized. The individual said, you got to do it now. And he gave a check, and the individual said, fine, I got to leave. We'll get back to you. And he left all right, and he left with that individual's money. So you need to be aware of the lunch. No no lunch is free, so to speak. Now, there's also a lot of other variety online and offline scams. Pictured here is Jean. She was a victim of a lottery scam. We still have that Jamaican lottery going on. And she got a call that she'd won about $7.9 million in a Jamaican lottery. She was victimized, and they kept telling her all she had to do was pay small fees to take care of the fees and the tax payments. And over a 6-month period, she realized she had wired over $30,000 in fees and tax fees to Jamaica. So you need to be aware these scams, unless you actually joined it, is not real. An online scam that has really taken off has been the tech support scam. You'll get a call, or you'll get a pop-up warning on your computer that your computer has a virus. And as I mentioned earlier, they'll try to convince you that you have a problem, and they'll try then to convince you that to let them take over your computer, to find the virus, clean it out, And what they often will do is put a virus in there, show you it's there, and then clean it out, charge you a fee, and then they'll turn around and offer you a program in which they can guard and protect your computer for a period of time. So they are very good at this. You need to be aware of it, and I caution you to avoid turning your computer over to anybody that you don't know for remote work. Other things you need to be aware of also, we have charities. Since we've had a lot of fires and so forth, people have been calling, and at times, many times, unfortunately, we find that charities are false. So you need to find out if the charity is legitimate before you actually fall for it. This one that's on the screen is still going on. It's been around for a long time. Someone will call and they'll pretend to be a grandchild, and they may call you up and say, "Hi, Gramps. It's your grandson, or if your granddaughter, if it's male or female," and you may just, "Oh, hi, Sam. How you doing?" You've done one thing right away. You gave them a name, and they'll indicate to you they have a problem. They've been in an accident, or they've been arrested for They need to have them bailed out. A trigger is they will say, "Please, whatever you do, don't tell mom and dad. They'll be very upset. And can you send it right away with a green dot debit card or wire money?" Um, you need to be very, very conscious of this. Make it more personal is here in Connecticut, we had several individuals who were victimized, almost to the tune of $200,000. And they called, and the police chief called, and we ended up talking to him. And they asked, why were they asking us at AARP to get involved, even though we're involved? I'm involved with the fraud and trying to educate people on it. And he indicated to me, he said, "I'm 44 years old." He said to me, "How old are your children?" And I told him, "My children are 45, 50. Why?" And he said, "That's just it. They look at us as their children and don't take us seriously. Whereas our educators, or we're known as peer educators, we're seniors. In some cases, many of us have been victimized as well." And he said, "They'll listen to you more than they will listen to a police officer." And he was right. We went to the meeting, had discussions, and we had a good open discussion about the scam and so on. So here in Connecticut, we've been hit hard with this grandparent scam. IRS, are they coming for you?
Yes.
He's coming for you.
Mrs. Roberts? Yes, this is George Hudson from the IRS. You play on their ignorance, right? You say you got interest penalties, you could lose your house, all that stuff.
It's like a nightmare came knocking at their door.
Yes, you do owe, ma'am. Our records indicate that you do. Records don't lie. We need you to pay that today. All right, debit card it is. Yes, just give you the number, expiration date, and the security code on the back. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, people of America.
Just to kind of recap, it kind of reminds me now what many of us are doing at home, sitting in our PJs and answering the phone and doing business. But let me just simply say, the IRS is not going to call. They will not call you or send you anything. They won't show up at your door. They rarely contact people, but they'll make multiple efforts if needed. And the best way you need to help them identify whether you are indeed in trouble is to go directly to the IRS number. Don't use a number that you may see on a computer or a number you're given over the phone. I always say, when it's in doubt, check it out. Stop and verify. Robocalls. They have increased in, oh God, I can't even think of the numbers. They basically are a technological advance that's a time saver for companies. Calls can be programmed to make certain hours. They'll make the calls. Normally, they had been developed to provide us with information such as confirmation of an appointment, change in flights, and anything that's happened in the community. It was a great way for us to be notified of what's going on. Those are what we call, our legal robocalls and how they actually got started. But one thing we have found, robocalls that we're getting now, many of them are illegal. You'll get companies that are not authorized to contact you, but they'll call you just to get information from you. They'll dangle goodies like all expense paid travel, or they may demand payment for what is really non-existent debts to get you to send money or to give up personal data. In 2018, we had over 48 billion robocalls coming to the United States, and about 40% of them are illegal. In 2019, we had more. In 2020, we had over 30 billion just in the first half of 2020, because now they know you're home and they're calling and they're calling. Basically, I encourage people to do something that we've been trained not to do and been asked not to do, and that is be rude. Hang up if it's something you have not contacted directly from yourself. Are there any questions on what I just presented? Okay, seeing that. Oh, I hear somebody. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn over the.
Byron, I have a question.
Yes.
What do you recommend for software to prevent these robocalls? I've got No More Robo. Is that the best one?
I would say it's one of those. What I tell people to do is to go to your phone provider and see what they have to offer. Many of them now have offered it as a freebie to be able to pick up a call. If you have it, it normally will pick up the call after about the third ring and stop it. If you have a cell phone, such as I have with AT&T, they have one for the cell phone, and when it rings, I look at it and it will say spam risk, and I'll know right away not to answer it. So there are several types that you can look at. I would say investigate those that meet your particular need, but start with your telephone provider initially.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, before you continue, guys, if you got a question, do like Stu did, raise your blue hand, so that we can, the presenters can see that you're asking a question. It'll pop up on the screen.
Okay.
Brian, I guess you got somebody, Stu Madison.
Yeah,
Got a question.
is there,
Go ahead.
I know that you keep getting calls, seems from the same people. They display different numbers on the phone, on the, the idea number. And is there any way to stop that? I know that they're automated things, and I've heard you answer the phone and they know you're alive, they'll keep calling you. My answering machine will pick up the phone. Any way to stop them?
Well, no. I'll be honest with you. How do we minimize it? You can go to opt out on your cell phone. If you look at the cell phone, when you get a message over on the far right, there's like a little exclamation point. Plug on that, and it says, do you want to block this call? And say yes, and that number will be blocked. But you're right, Stu. If they'll call from one number, if they get no response, you'll get another call from another. And they'll spoof. In other words, they'll say, you and I know each other. You'll see my name. Oh, Byron's calling me. And you pick up, and it's a robocall. So I would basically say block the calls. Try to get a no more robo kind of device. But I have to be honest with you. You won't stop them all. If you have a caller ID and it's a number you don't know, don't answer.
Okay, can you spell that name? Is it Robo or
No mo robo. NOMOROBO.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you have Cablevision, the phone from Cablevision or Optimum, that is they offer that free.
Thank you. Yes. David? Turn yourself off. You're on mute, David.
Dave,
I've got red screens on my PC computer and a couple times, and they asked me, it says my computer is infected and call a number, And what I've done, I've gone to Taskmaster and deleted that application that was running. And that seems to have resolved the problem. Is there any better way to do that?
You might want to see if you can get antivirus ware through things like Best Buy with the Geek Squad, and they will pick it up and they will actually clean. See, they go through your computer periodically. Mine, they go through once a month, clean it for me, let me know if there's anything, and they'll wipe out, they'll identify any particular trends, but they stop them before they actually become infected. That's another way you can protect yourself. Stay up to date with the antivirusware.
Right now, I have McAfee.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of them. Check them out. Just be sure it meets your particular needs and would help you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no one else, we'll move on, and I'll ask John Coates. John, would you take us through the next phase?
All right. Thank you, Byron. That was good information. Hello, everybody. My name is John Coates. I'm also an AARP volunteer. Here's my T-shirt, which you can't see. Dealing in our new virtual world has some advantages. Often we don't get to be in front of a group this large. So thank you for inviting us. We're going to do something called the Con Artist Playbook, a presentation here. It's easy to have 20/20 hindsight and see after the fact what's happened, but how do cons make this sound so good? Whoever's pitching you, what do they do? Now, as Joe Friday used to say, names may have been changed to protect the innocent, but we interview jailhouse participants, if you will, people who have been convicted of crimes. And we also analyze, us being AARP, hundreds of hours of interviews to come up with the information that we present to you. So if we look at typical kind of folks we would interview here, Rocky Smith, this guy worked as a consultant in a boiler room. We've been around a while. We remember in the 80s, boiler rooms sold stock. Now they sell cons. Your boiler room may be in India, it may be in Duluth, it may be anywhere. The next fellow, Jeremy, was involved in gold coin scams. A lot of gold coin or coin things are legit, but often they are not as they're portrayed. So that's when you get into the scam and the fraud territory. Stephen Michaels operated a number of these fraud boiler rooms. And Jimmy Edwards, we used to refer to as the king of scams. He operated over 30 boiler rooms over a 10-year period, taking in millions and millions of bucks. So how do they get you? Good salesmen probably know the secret to this. They get you under the ether, and they all said, "This is what we do." What is the ether? It's a heightened emotional state that causes you not to think clearly, to throw your good caution to the wind, and think of the first time you were in love. Were you thinking straight? Probably not. So Rocky said, I want to keep the victim up in the altitude of the ether, because once they drop into the valley of logic, they lost them. So let's talk about what they do to keep you in the ether. There's a number of persuasion tactics we talk about. Now, every scam ultimately involves money. So the main thing we talk about is we talk about phantom riches. Now, phantom riches, what are these? My father used to always tell me, you get nothing for nothing. Something you want, but you can't have, claims of unlimited wealth, whatever. It gets you so aroused by the prospects of these huge returns that you don't think straight. This is the number one tactic that we've found that scammers use, the promise of these phantom riches. One of our fellows with the gold coins promised phantom riches in terms of tremendous returns, saying that gold would double in value, or you are, being called upon to make such a fantastic investment here. The next thing they do is a little more insidious. They profile you. Now, an awful lot of people are their own worst enemies by putting too much data out on their websites, or not their websites, their Facebook pages. Their families may be doing it, but like a good salesman, as I mentioned, they'll profile you. They'll develop a series of questions that they'll ask you. They'll find out about your family. And when some of these long running scams come about, these guys have developed a very long relationship with you. They know, for instance, you might have a special needs person in the family, and they'll play upon these things. Jimmy said, the con artist gathers an arsenal of information by being personable and being friendly. They take notes, and they use this information to put together a profile of what buttons to push. What I try to do when I have a victim on the phone is to find their emotional Achilles heel. Once I do, it enables me to use that against them. The next thing is scarcity. Boy, we got a snowstorm out there. So what happened in the stores yesterday? Everybody runs out and buys milk and bread, even if they don't need milk and bread. When the pandemic hit, toilet paper was going out, like there was no tomorrow. This preys upon our evolutionary fear of being without food. So it taps into a very primal urge with folks that they're going to run out of stuff. So they better do it right now or they're going to miss out. It's rare or it's valuable. These coin things, for instance, John, back in 1860 from the Philadelphia Mint, there were 22,000 of these coins minted. Only 4 have remained. Therefore, you got to move right now. I'm offering you one of these 4. It gets you to start panicking. If you don't buy now, you're going to be out of luck. The next thing they often use is source credibility. You see these influencers now who are out there on the web, whether it's for young people or not. Source credibility means an awful lot. In fact, it's going to be very important when we do sell the COVID inoculation program. If somebody comes out and touts it and that person is trusted, then it really means a lot. Often, though, the source credibility focused here is people who've never endorsed it. They try to build credibility by touting celebrities, and the IRS is probably the most commonly mimicked in a fraudulent attempt. It's the IRS, therefore they have instant credibility. And then we talked about the Microsoft scam where you have cachet, you have instant credibility. Now, the next persuasion tactic, unfortunately, is all too common. We used to present a tape, an actual tape. Fear and intimidation. This woman, Jean, that we showed you earlier, they called her literally 100 times a day. And we present this program to all sorts of folks. And if you go and present it in front of an 85-year-old woman who might be living alone, boy, this is a pretty strong incentive when somebody says, pick up your bleeping phone. If you don't, I'm going to come over and burn your house down. These are the kind of things these bad guys are doing. And make no mistake, these people are criminals. This money is not going to charities. It's going to bad guys. Okay. Therefore, how do we prevent these now that we know how the scammers think? What we'd like to introduce you to is a fellow that we've worked with, AARP, for the last couple years. He's Mr. Brett Johnson, and the federal government gave him the title of Godfather of the Dark Web. Fascinating.
I am the guy who built the first organized cybercrime community, and it laid the foundation that modern cybercrime channels still follow today. I was placed on the United States Most Wanted list, arrested. I served 7.5 years in federal prison. There's no way I can make amends for the damage I caused in the past. Today, I try to help people avoid and protect themselves against the type of person that I used to be. The internet is made up of basically three different areas. The first is the surface web. Basically, that's everything that you can find on Google. That's 4% of the internet. The other 96% is the deep web. That's medical billing and emails, anything that's behind some sort of wall. Within that deep web is what's called the dark web. And the dark web is where a lot of criminal activity takes place, things like that. Your information can be sold at large there. I can buy your social security number and your date of birth for $2.90. I can buy your complete identity profile. That's your name, your address, your social security, your date of birth, your mother's maiden, your driver's license number, your background check, and your credit report. I can buy that entire profile for a low of $40 and a high of $130. Just last year, there were 1,500 reported breaches, 2.6 billion records compromised. Your information is out there. So knowing that, then what do you do about it? There are basically three things. The first is you freeze the credit of yourself and every single person in the house, including the kids, because children are the #1 victims of identity theft. But a credit freeze only takes care of new account fraud. So you also have to monitor existing accounts. That's bank accounts, credit cards, email logins, merchant logins. Put alerts on all accounts that you can. The third thing, passwords. We don't know how to do passwords properly. We use the same password across multiple websites. Criminals know that, so what I advise people to do is use a password manager. It's basically a software program that picks passwords for you. Make sure you're more safe. Those three things, freezing credit, monitoring accounts, using a password manager, that makes sure that you're not the low-hanging fruit and you're not going to be as easy a victim as all these other people.
So once again, let's recap what he said. Credit freeze. As a person who used to extend credit, people who froze their credit were not trustworthy people. Now everyone should freeze their credit. You can put it on and off if you need to have it extended when you need a credit card, etc. Monitor your existing accounts and use a password manager. Some of the software packages do have a rudimentary password manager built in. All right, so now another thing, prevention strategies. Let's talk about things that you can do. Don't make a buying decision in a heightened emotional state. Develop a refusal script. We're from a generation that didn't say no. Don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid not to even answer. Ask more questions than you answer. Do your homework. Don't let the salesperson control you. Read about the product before buying. Protect your social security number. Several times we do presentations, we have people who are still carrying their social security number around in their wallet. Don't put your social security number or your driver's license number on your checks. That was for a former time. Get rid of your sensitive documents. Keep copies of your credit cards. This is sort of important, front and back, because you've got that code on the back, and who knows, if you lose your wallet or somebody steals your wallet, you may have to come up with this information. And watch over your credit reports. You're entitled to a free credit report from the three bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and make sure there's not bad stuff on there, things that you didn't do. A few more things to consider. Protect your personal IDs and passwords. Don't carry your PINs around in your wallet. Don't carry your passwords in your wallet. And avoid using easily identifiable passwords. Folks who use a few algorithms can guess an awful lot of passwords if you use something simple. Protect your mail. You can go to this opt-out screen. Now, a lot of this information we've got here is going to be as part of a package that'll be sent to you folks after our presentation, so you don't have to scribble all this down in a hurry. Sign up for the Do Not Call registry. A lot of people say, gee, I signed up for the Do Not Call registry and I still get calls. That is because this is for legitimate businesses. People who are not legitimate don't subscribe to a Do Not Call registry, so that's your first indication that when they get through, it's probably not legit. Double check references. and verify charities. We mentioned that earlier. The minute something terrible happens, they start scamming and collecting money the next day that never goes where it's intended. All right, steps you can take. Some of this is repetition, but monitor your accounts online. Now that everybody gets everything on the net, then they don't see paper copies anymore. So if you don't go and see if you've got activity on your account, then there may be activity that you didn't authorize. Secure your passwords. As we've said, you can use a password manager, or don't use simple, easily identifiable or repetitious passwords across all your areas. Protect your computer. Most of these hacks and data breaches that happen with big companies that did not protect, didn't do their up-to-date information that might have prevented the hack. I think the big one that happened a few years ago with TransUnion was for this reason. So protect your computer and control your surfing. This is a lot more common among probably younger people who did go to internet cafes and do things that allowed their surfing to be monitored by the guy next to them. Watch for fake connections. Again, the real test of a website is if it requires a password, then don't do things in a public place. HTTPS, S stands for the secured connection. So watch out for fake connections, especially when you're in a strange place. And hand in hand in that is beware of the phishing scams. Most breaches and hacks involve phishing scams that have gotten through to employees and allowed somebody to get in. I thought it was amazing that this breach that's apparently happened several months ago for our largest governmental agencies, while we're trying to scam and look around for non-existent conspiracies, people are breaking into valuable accounts at the government, at the Treasury, at the top levels of everywhere. Most of these involve some employee opening a fraudulent inquiry. All right, so we can sit and we can talk about all this stuff, but let's have some resources that we can show you. First of all, we have the Fraud Watch Network. Let me just sort of move here. This AARP Fraud Watch Network is free. It's a go-to resource for everyone, whether or not you're an AARP member. It doesn't cost anything. It offers consumer resources, and you can visit and you can actually talk with real people. So there's an AARP Fraud Watch helpline. Last week we got together. It's amazing how many calls they're getting on a daily basis now. Now that some of these folks have been inside for a long time, they're getting some days 1,000 calls. And certainly they refer to the important calls to authorities if it involves an immediate crime. But you can talk to a real live person staffed by AARP volunteers. And the materials are available in both English and Spanish. And we're going to be sending out a lot of this information after our meeting. So we have proven resources from news articles, literacy quizzes, up-to-date information on the latest scams. And coming up, you'll see we have a scam tracking map. So this is a one-stop resource. Again, here's our helpline. If you or someone you love suspects a scam, just call up. It doesn't hurt, you know. If it's innocent, you probably wouldn't be questioning it. Often if you question something, there's something fishy about it. Now, this is the scam tracking map we talked about. This is pretty neat if it wasn't so disturbing. We collect data that people report scams. For instance, let's say in Greenwich, we're finding out 2 or 3 of these grandparent scams have happened, or some fraudulent paver is going around the neighborhood. These get reported in pretty much real time, and you can see what's going on because there is a geographical component to most of this stuff that's happening on a local level, obviously. Now you can sign up for Watchdog alerts. We just briefly went by there, and that will give you information about the latest stuff that's happening. And believe me, it's happening so fast. There are COVID scams that are developing every day. As Byron said, if they pass that bill tomorrow or today, there will be people tomorrow trying to sell something. So you can find out what's happening here. Now, every so often we need a success story. Unfortunately, when your money has gone out the door, you're not going to get it back. It's basically gone. We work closely with law enforcement officers, and they're sad to tell you that that's pretty much the case. Sometimes you can stop a wire transfer, but you can stop things that haven't happened yet. So we were giving a presentation in one of the banks at People's United, and this is a cooperative effort between us and the postal inspector, Lauren Vambacco, we work with, and Tina Gabriel, who works for People's, the financial crime investigators. They were doing it on the banking floor near the tellers. And as this was happening, somebody came in with one of these letters. Now, Publishers Clearinghouse is legit, but a lot of people imitate Publishers Clearinghouse. And this customer was adamant that he had a check for $7,897, an official looking certificate. The branch worker worked hard to convince the customer it was a scam, and we saved what would have probably been a continuing request for money and fees. So if you can prevent these things, obviously that's the way to go. So we present a lot of data here. I talk pretty quick, a lot of stuff being sent out. So let's look at the inimitable Pat Cashman. See if you can look at this presentation and spot a few of the things that look a little questionable here. Take it away, Pat.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you that I have never seen anything that we have ever offered here on the Smart Shopping Network that is getting the response we are getting tonight for the Miracle Shim. Look at that. Isn't that attractive? And if you have a chair or a table at home that's a little tipsy, and I bet a lot of you do, there is no better product you can find than the Miracle Shim. Now, look at this chair here. A little tipsy, isn't it? You probably have one like it. But you just slip one of these little beauties right under that chair or table leg that's not quite touching the floor as well as the others, and voila, problem is solved. Now, isn't that something you need just about every day? Yeah, I know I do. These are the same shims used in the White House, Buckingham Palace. The Taj Mahal has lots of them. You know, Princess Diana, it is said, would not sit at a table until it had been specially leveled with Miracle Shims. She had a guy with her, went with her all the time. He had a bag full of shims. True story, true story. Now that is class. Now I'm going to be honest with you. You cannot find Miracle Shim in the stores. You just can't. They're not available in stores. They're not available from anywhere but right here, right now, from me. And they're not going to be here long either, believe me. If you were lucky enough, though, to find them, you would expect to pay over $200 for a set like the one we are offering here tonight. But that's not what you will pay if you order right now. No, we are offering the Miracle Shim for just $49.90. Did you hear what I said? Or 5 easy payments of just $9.98. Now that is more than half off the list price. And again, it is just $9.98 regardless of whether you want the cedar, the pine, the oak, or the hickory. Now that is just unreal. I have these at my house. I also gave a lot of them as Christmas gifts this year too. My mom loves hers. You know what? She got the cedar set, and she doesn't have any more tipsy chairs or tables. She also doesn't have any more moths. Okay, I'm told the hickory now is really selling like hotcakes. So let's take a look at the counter, and whoa, my goodness, over 12,000 sold just since I've been on the air. These sets sold out completely last time we had them on the air, so I'm not surprised by that. We have got Bernie from Normal, Illinois on the line. How are you, my friend?
Hi, I just called to say that I love my Miracle Shims.
Do you now?
I just bought 3 more of them tonight.
Whew, 3 of them?
Yeah, and my neighbor's trying to get through to you right now to buy some.
Well, you better hurry, because I'm told the cedar just sold out.
I bought one for my wife. Our anniversary's coming up.
Well, your wife has herself one thoughtful husband.
Yeah, well, you know, it sure beats buying a new dining room set.
Well, thank you, Bernie. And, you know, he raises a very good point, folks. New dining room set, several $100s. You want to impress your friends? You want to feel real elegance in your life? For only 5 easy payments of $9.98, as the kids say, that's a no-brainer. But I'm being told now the Miracle Shims are all sold out. They are all gone, except, you know, for this one here, under the chair. Oh, wait a minute, I just thought of another one we've got right under the table here. We'll sacrifice that, but you better call now before it's gone too.
Now, I bought those for my wife and she didn't think they were a great gift. But at any rate, you know, tongue in cheek, but what we see is what is he selling? We're talking about scarcity. We're talking about social proof. And finally, authority. This is Pat Cashman. This is not some schmo here. This is the real deal here. So even in the most innocuous stuff, you can see the same sales techniques. They're basically things that most of the scam artists are utilizing. So actually, we're now sort of getting near to the end. We're going to have time for a few more questions at the end. But we want to let you know that we do a lot of different programs. We formerly did this program live. And if you want to actually come up and find out what's going on with some of the events, you can go to this website. Let me just mention briefly, I know that in the chat box, Byron has put a few of the upcoming events. We're sort of winding down for the year, so we're moving out to January. But we have on the Fraud Watch type of network, we have something called Fourth Friday Fraud. I can't even say it. Fraud Fighting Fourth Fridays. You know, that somebody came up with that, just make it difficult for us. Good so we're going to be talking about investment scams on January 22nd. But if you go and want to find out everything that's coming up, we've got on a national level virtual universities. On a local level, we have caregiver roadshows. We have a lot of different programs. We'd love to do some of our other programs if it's something that appeals to you. So go and find out what events are going on. We'll be doing the Fraud Watch Con Artist, pretty much the same presentation in West Hart at my old alma mater in a couple months. And our schedules fill up fast. So we do a lot more than a lot of people are aware. So that having been said, these are we have about, I guess, 44 volunteers. We work with the fellow down in the lower right-hand corner, where we work with the International Association of Financial Crime Investigators, a great partnership. And we are out in the community, and we really would like to thank you guys. We'd like to thank Joseph and Steve for technical assistance. And to reiterate, today we've had Byron on the call, and we have Harry Hom doing our technical, running our slides and doing all that stuff. So we'll take any questions. We really thank you for having us here today. And shoot.
Guys, thank you for a great presentation. It was truly informative, and I know from my own experience, and I'm sure all of our other members, we've all been approached in one or a number of these IRS and today the Social Security Administration, the scam, what have you. So guys, I'm sure there are questions. Please raise your hand and you'll be called on according, as your hands go up.
I guess Stu Madison. Stu?
I was just curious that the video you showed with the wedge, was that real? Was that actually broadcast?
We had to, too many people were thinking it was real, so we had to start saying it was tongue in cheek, but no, it wasn't, but it certainly looks like the consumer values channel or something like that. No, it wasn't.
I mean, it was funny. It was good.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Anybody else with questions? Usually when there's no questions, you guys have covered all the bases and left everything
You
said.
got Ed Roloff.
Just say, I have a question.
Quick question, guys. Wouldn't a simple solution to a lot of this is just simply if you don't recognize the phone number, not answer the phone?
Yes, but unfortunately, you know, that's the kind of advice we give. But there are occasions when you get a call, whether somebody's using a mobile phone that they haven't used before. Generally, what I do, if I'm not sure, I'll pick up the phone and I won't say anything, and then I will just hang up, because the people who are making the calls get paid, whether it's 0.1%, they get paid just to establish that you're a live body. So you can't get hurt by not answering the phone.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, I have a question too. Alan Coulter.
Hey, Alan.
Wait till you're called on, guys. Wait till you're called on. If you raise your hand, wait till you're called on.
I can't find out where to raise a hand.
Participant.
Go to participants, and there'll be a blue hand.
Got it. Okay, hand now raised.
I see it. We see it.
Okay, so the question
Larry is first. Larry is first.
Okay, one of the, in response to John's answer, basically, if the call, you don't recognize the call, better than not answer, you know, better than picking up is if it's a legitimate call, it'll leave a voicemail. So, you know, that's a better way to handle that, I think. But my other question was, for example, the banks say, which looks like a very legitimate email, to update your information, you know, your income information or something. And I just delete it, but it looks very, very legitimate. How do you, what's the best way to handle it? Is just to delete it?
They absolutely look legitimate. You can get into whether the website is it has an HTTPS on it, but banks and these folks don't ask you unsolicited to update your information. One of the things that we talked about in the dark web presentation, he says, go and register your account. And some people say, well, what does that mean? If you have a Bank of America account, go into it and put in your profile. Some people say, well, that's a pain in the neck. Well, it's not really, because then you are providing a level of protection. So register your accounts. If you've registered your Bank of America account, then you're not going to be getting unsolicited emails to update your information. You can go into your account and you've provided a level of protection by putting in a password, putting in, everything is going with the two-factor authentication now. So if you get that stuff unsolicited, get rid of it, because nobody is going to be asking you for that information that you can't then verify. And you can always pull out your card or your statement and call the number on the back there. That's the legitimate number.
Thank you.
Howie.
Good morning. Very interesting presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just curious. I see the phone ringing, and it's my own house calling me. And a lot of times I have my wife calling me, and they're scams. How do they do this with the phones?
Now that's called spoofing. That's called spoofing, and it'll say it's the Stanford Police Department. Now think about it. You've got an area code, obviously. You've got a 3-digit exchange number. Now, Stanford's pretty big, but if we looked in my town, Windsor, Connecticut, everything begins with a 688. All they have to do is go out with either a robo-dialer or with some algorithm. They only have to run through 9,999 numbers. So they can make it look like, oh, I'm at 12 Squire Road. There's 14 Squire Road is so-and-so. They can go out and pull names that look legit to you. They're using algorithms and they're using software packages. So spoofing is very frightening because whenever we give a presentation and it says, gee, it looks like it's the police department, take the information and call them back and say, can I speak to officer so-and-so? And always verify. I think it was Reagan who used to say, trust but verify. You can always get back to people, and don't go back to the number they give you. You know, but that's how they spoof your number.
But the phone company can't prevent that?
There's a lot of software that they say is coming in within the next, it's been coming for a long time, but within the next year that should help prevent this. But unfortunately, it's been put on the back burner with all this other stuff going on.
Thank you.
I got a call the other day from my
Alan Coulter.
Sorry.
You, gentlemen, you were talking early on about credit reports, and you said that you can easily freeze and unfreeze. Could you tell me again what you were talking about and how easy is it to freeze or unfreeze your credit or information about your credit?
John, I can handle this. Just to let you know, Joe is going to be receiving a handout from our director, and in it will be instructions to how to do a credit freeze. And now to do a credit freeze, Alan, it is free to freeze and free to unfreeze before you see a freeze. So that information will be sent out to you shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Lloyd.
I'd like to further the discussion, if I could, on the bank accounts. Since I help out with the activities treasurer, I've gotten a lot of requests from Wells Fargo, supposedly. And what I've discovered that I could do is, one, look at the banner where it was sent. If it's not a Wells Fargo name, then you know it's a third party and that's a phishing operation. Secondly, I've discovered that we've gotten a lot of links for information for the account, and you don't touch it. And the third thing I do is I go to the bank itself and say, okay, if you want this information, I'll be happy to give it to you while I'm sitting with the officer there. But then I know it's going to the right place and not to some fraudulent operation.
That's good information.
Thank you, Lloyd. But let's keep this to questions. Phil. Phil, unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Hi. Yesterday I was talking to tech at Apple, and I gave permission for them to look at my screen to help me correct the problem that was occurring.
Oh boy.
And so the tech person now had access to my computer. I think the safe thing to do would be to change my password today. What do you think? Do you think I'm overly concerned?
Did you initiate the call?
Yes.
I think you should feel fairly comfortable if you call the legitimate Apple number that they're not going to be using it unscrupulously. Unfortunately, if they want to, you changing your password is not going to make that much difference. You heard Brett Johnson say that your information can be out there if bad people want to do it. But I think if you went direct to Apple, you could feel fairly comfortable that that information is not going to be used in a way that it shouldn't be used. It won't hurt to change your password, but if they wanted to get in there, they could do that also.
Thank you. Alan Sosnowitz.
Hi. Why isn't the phone company complicit in all of this? In essence, they're driving the getaway car. You're using their information, or their system rather, and there's got to be somebody who knows it's going from my phone number to another phone number. I'm paying my bill, they're paying their bill. Why can't they track it back to that original fraudulent person?
Unfortunately, Al, this is Byron. Unfortunately, the numbers sometimes they're going through another technological exchange. And I know you've seen it on TV where they direct it from New York to Pennsylvania to Boston. The phone companies are trying to develop the technology to be able to stop that. But right now, these scammers know how to do it and do it being undetected rather. But the phone companies are working at that. How can they identify and stop? But it's been difficult.
Legally, they're not complicit?
Who, the phone companies?
Yes.
If someone is using that information illegally without their knowledge and without their consent, they're held harmless.
Okay. Well, it's 11:46, and we got it in on in time. You guys did it. Thank you for a fantastic presentation. It was most interesting. I enjoyed it, and like I say, I think we can all relate to all of the issues that were brought up, and then some. Again, it's up, everybody to be vigilant on their own. And as Byron said, I'll be getting a package, an email package, which I'll turn over and let Steve will then do a email blast to all of the members, and we'll all have that. And Stu Madison, you'll be taking over. So let's take the guys up on their offer, and any other presentations, might be able to space them out during the next 2021. And while we're on Zoom, it really worked out great. And if and when we go live, we can do some live presentations.
That'd be great.
So again, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for setting this up with us, and for a good presentation.
Thank you. We're pleased to have joined you today.
Joe, this is Steve. I just want to remind anyone on the board that the next board Zoom meeting is at a different URL than this one.
Yeah, they
should have received an email.
Yeah, you sent the email, and on the final agenda, I put the connection also, and that was what I was going to say is for the new board members, if you're wearing T-shirts or something like that, maybe you want to put on a dressier shirt, because Steve is going to try and get a group screenshot of all the new officers, so that we can have that up posted on our website for 2021. I want to remind again, Steve reminded you to be there at 1 o'clock, so have some lunch. And as we close out this session, I want to wish everyone the final days a happy Hanukkah, and next Friday, Merry Christmas, and Friday after that, a Happy New Year. And that's from myself and all the board members. Thank you again for being